Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Domagoj Verbos. I work at the communication unit at the European Food Safety Authority in Parma, and I will be your moderator today. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. We already have around 100 participants at the moment, and I think this number will be increasing as we move through our discussion. So first of all, why are we here today? Well, we take some pride that the European Union is sort of a global leader in data protection and AI regulation, and that it sets the stage a bit for responsible and effective implementation of artificial intelligence. And obviously, the agencies of the European Union have a role in executing and transmitting this vision in their respective fields. So, responding to this ambition, the European Food Safety Authority, supported by the Translation Center for the Bodies of the EU, the European Medicine Agency, and the European Union Intellectual Property Office, have joined forces and have created what is today EU virtual AI community that is delivering this session to you, and that comprises sort of 15 agencies and 15 guest organizations. And these agencies are here today they are here with you and me to deliver what we call a European Union AI talk. These are just a panel. This is a panel that will discuss various aspects related to AI implementation pertinent to the European Union. And we will not discuss only how we explore the impact of the AI on the European public sector, but also delve into recent advancement, especially in generative artificial intelligence and large language models. So stay tuned for what's going to be a very interesting session. And of course, there are many challenges, technological, ethical, and financial, to name some, in implementing AI, but there are also a lot of opportunities. And we will hear both on challenges and opportunities today, what has been done to date, what is in the pipeline, and where the goalposts stand. So stay tuned, because we have a lot of interesting things coming up this afternoon. But before diving into the topic and giving the floor to the speakers, I would like to remind you of some housekeeping rules. So the webinar is being recorded first and foremost, and the recording will be available afterwards. So be aware that if you miss a certain part or need to do something during this webinar, this will be made available to you after the event. Your microphones have been muted and your camera is shut off and will remain so for the duration of the webinar. If you have a question though, we have a live event Q&A tab that you can find in the application, and you can select Ask a Question at the bottom of the panel and ask the questions. We have a team monitoring the questions, and if the moderator publishes your question and it appears on the feature tab, you can like someone else's question, because we will have a Q&A session where the most popular and pertinent questions will be asked to our panelists. So the moderator will make sure to address the relevant questions to the most appropriate speaker, the moderator being me. So bear with me if I address a question to someone who maybe who will answer to the best of their knowledge. Obviously, all these people are available also after the event for any questions you may have, for any follow-up. Okay, let's look at the agenda without further ado. So what are we going to do this afternoon? Basically, we will first have an introduction from my colleague Didier, the head of Knowledge, Innovation and Partnership Unit. He will give a bit of a background on the AI community, on its development, and on the purpose of the event today. And then we will be delving into a panel discussion. We will have 5 panelists. I won't go into details now on who the panelists are, because I would like to reserve the time for the panelists to introduce themselves at the beginning of the session. But this will take us up to around 4:30. So in the next hour and a half, more or less, we will be talking to the panelists on certain topics such as the ambition, what happens with the people and the AI, the organizations, the capabilities, and what are some of the things that affect citizen trust in organizations when we adopt AI. Then we'll have a reserved question for, let's say, 15 minutes reserved for a Q&A. This will be around 3:30, where we will try to answer all the questions that, as I said, were posed in the chat and were selected as for the live event. And in the end, we'll have a couple of concluding remarks with myself and Didier to thank you for your participation. And by the way, since I started talking, the number of participants has gone up. So now we have around 156 attendees. So welcome to everyone who's arrived in the meantime. And I think this kicks off officially the event, and I pass the floor to my colleague Didier. Didier is the head of Knowledge, Innovation and Partnership Unit at EFSA, and he will give a brief introduction to the history, objectives of the EU AI virtual community, and the objectives of the day. So with no further ado, I pass the floor to Didier. Didier, please.
Hello, welcome everyone. Allow me to dive with you into the dynamic world of the EU AI virtual community, which is an initiative born from the European growing fascination with artificial intelligence, back then already in 2018. So picture this, it's 2018, and the European Commission unveils its ambitious vision for artificial intelligence and robotics, setting the stage for a new era of AI made in Europe, which is ethical, secure, and at the forefront of technology. So let's ponder to illustrate this through a thought-provoking quote from the from the Coordinated Plan on Artificial Intelligence back in 2018. So which says that AI is already a part of our daily lives, but its potential is much larger than we have seen so far. For Europe to become a leading player in AI, it needs to build on its strengths and support the development of an ethical, secure, and cutting-edge AI made in Europe. So, in sync with this grand European ambition, a vibrant grassroots initiative, which was called Joint EU Forces on AI, was set in motion by EFSA, hand in hand with the influential sister agencies like CDT, EMA, and EUPO. And this isn't just about exploring AI, as visible here on the slide and as visible in its pledge. It's about creating a powerhouse of shared knowledge, fostering unprecedented synergies, and harnessing also on the transformative power of AI together. So let's walk a bit through the family album, the family photo album. So what have we done over these years? So back in 2019, there was the establishment and the foundation. So we kickstarted our journey back in 2019 with the establishment of the virtual community on MS Teams. And then the focus was really on leveraging basic features as a foundational platform to build upon. And that year was about setting the groundwork and ensuring that our virtual community was accessible and ready to grow. Then in 2020, we took a major step by updating MS Teams to better suit our needs. It was also COVID time at that point, so the virtual aspect of the virtual community was very, very relevant and up to date. And we formalized the community's governance and structure at that point, which was crucial for our sustainable expansion. And also we kept busy with introducing AI expertise and relevant content, and we began to solidify our community's knowledge based on resource offerings. 2021 was about branding and engagement. So it marked also the official launch of our new logo, which is also in the background of everybody, and you will see a lot today, which enhanced the community's identity, of course. We inaugurated also in 2021 the EU AI Talk panel discussions, which were instrumental in boosting engagement and fostering dialogues among members. And this year was all about building a strong brand presence and engaging the community at a deeper level. 2022, the debut of the EU AI Talk, which was the first session, then back. Today we have the second session. So the live edition in 2022 was a highlight, showcasing the dynamic nature of our community activities. And during this year also, we expanded towards a broader ecosystem and initiated working sessions to foster also concrete AI use case development. To put this together, so 2022 was really about collaboration. 2023, expansion and integration. So the second live EU Talk, which is today, and we expanded also our membership to include various agencies indicating our growing influence and reach. We also had a first physical working session of a virtual community, so where the people came in person to EFSA, which was a significant step in transitioning from virtual to in-person collaboration, which we all had to relearn a bit after the COVID, maybe. Then 2024 and beyond, the future directions, we are looking ahead. We are excited about the future as we continue to identify and enable key AI use cases together with our sister agencies and our partners within the community. And our vision for 2024 and beyond is, well, not only to maintain this trajectory of growth, but also to innovate and lead the AI space in the EU. So finally, so as we stand on the cusp of these developments, it's crucial to acknowledge somehow the pillars that have brought us today where we are. So this journey wouldn't have been possible really with the steadfast leadership and collaborative spirit of our colleagues and partners at CDT, EMA and EUPO, the leading agencies. There's also a special nod to be given to the visionary prowess of our executive director, Bernard Uhl, who is still here for some months, finishing his mandate, who was also and is still the main sponsor behind this initiative. And last but not least, the unwavering interest and motivation of all the agencies, organizations, and guests, also guest talkers, guest speakers, who have played a pivotal role in nurturing and expanding the AI virtual community. So if we allow me to illuminate our path a bit with some quantitative metrics of the milestones achieved over the last 3 years. So our ranks have swelled to include over 10 active agencies and organizations. We boast around 200 members on our Teams platform with an average of 50 dedicated, actively participating members in our monthly meetings. We've hosted 18 virtual events, creating a vibrant forum for over 30 external guest speakers to share insights on a myriad of AI-related topics. And there we are at today's event, a landmark occasion in our journey again, and our second public event, sorry, marking the beginning of many, many more, the second beginning. So thank you. Back to you, Domagoj.
Thank you, Didier. Thank you so much for that great opening and giving us also the background of the virtual community, which I think frames a bit of discussion, but also talking about what's coming next and what are some of the use cases. We will be talking about them a lot today. Okay, so we're almost there, almost ready to start with the discussions with our panelists. So I wanted to introduce formally the panel discussion. Didier will be joining us on the panel. Together with Didier, we will have 4 speakers. We will have Ildiko from CDT, Joachim from EMA, Cornelia from a multidisciplinary institute on artificial intelligence, and Lilian from the European Intellectual Property Office. So I would give a minute of introduction to each of the speakers because I would like them to introduce themselves, describe the role they have in their institution, and also how they are connected to the topic of AI in their work. So with that, I pass the floor to Ildiko for a brief introduction. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the floor. I think I'm live now and alive still. Thank you very much. I am Ildiko Horváth. I am the director of the Translation Center for the Bodies of the European Union. We call ourselves, and we are called CDT because CDT stands for the French acronym of our organization. So when you hear CDT, it's the Translation Center. I have been the director since February last year. So not for a long time. This community started its activities before I became director. My connection, of course, is professional, and this is it. I am in charge of a lot of things at my organization and also implementing new technologies and continuing on the way of implementing new technologies that we have already been doing. My personal connection is my background. Before joining the CDT, I was trained as a translator. I worked as a freelance translator. I was trained as a conference interpreter as well, and I come from academia. I did a lot of research on translation and interpreting, and my latest research was about, actually, the recent focus of my research was on artificial intelligence and the digital transformation of the language services market. So here I am. Personally, and this is my last sentence, I don't want to take up my time, I have lived through since the beginning of my career, the huge technological development of our profession, which is translation and linguistic services. And personally, I appreciated the efficiency gains and the productivity gains, the improvement of quality assurance, for example, that these developments and the tools, technological tools, have made possible for the individual professional. But today, or recently, we have arrived to the next level, which is AI and large language models. And to me, it is fascinating. But because of my background, I am also aware of the risks and limitations and the challenges. And as the director of the Translation Center, I am committed to working on these as well, mitigating the risks, for example, or curbing the risks, and working together with you. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I am Lilian Fraisse. I'm the head of the Business Analysis Service at the Digital Transformation Department at the European Union Intellectual Property Office, known as the Weipo. Here at Weipo, we are working with artificial intelligence for 6 years already. Initially, we ventured into chatbots and machine translation services through, by the way, collaboration with the European Union Translation Center. Since 2020, we have successfully implemented services like image recognition, phonetic search, semantic search, and text comparison. And looking ahead, we plan to get the most out of the potential of generative AI in the next 5 years. So clearly, I do think that exciting times lie ahead, and I'm pleased to be invited to this live talk with colleagues to share our experience and insight with you today. And now I give the floor to Joachim.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joachim Berenguer. I'm the lead data scientist of the Analytics Center of Excellence at the European Medicine Agency, and I am also co-leading the Digital Innovation Lab. These two services are under the Digital Business Transformation Task Force, where our goal is to help the agency in the digitalization journey. We would like to achieve this exploring different technologies, and one of these technologies is AI, artificial intelligence. We believe that this is a technology that will change the way as we work, and we are looking forward to the future and all the possibilities that this technology will open in front of us. My personal connection on AI, I've been involved in innovation analytics since the beginning of my career, and since I started at TMA, I've been asked to explore how analytics can be applied to improve the way of working and also to be more efficient. And now we are in the next level. We are talking about generative AI and LLMs. I'm very excited to see the future and see how this will change the way of working in our institutions. Cornelia?
Thank you. Hello, my name is Cornelia Kutter. I'm here as a guest and feel very honored to be with all of you. I'm currently a senior researcher at the Multidisciplinary Institute in Artificial Intelligence at the University of Grenoble under the chair of AI regulation. In this capacity, I'm in particular looking at AI governance globally, but also, of course, the AI Act. And I have been studying in particular AI safety issues, understanding the mission to develop AGI and alignment, and the context beyond this current work that I'm doing in research. I've been with Microsoft before that for 15 years, and the last 7 years I've been leading AI policy in Europe, and have been very closely involved in Microsoft's the AI governance structure. What I foresee in the future, and this leads me also to my next role that will come soon, is I will head a legal consultancy here in Brussels that provides services in the context of data protection and forthcoming AI compliance. So this fits quite well, I hope, in the broader context of this discussion. Thank you for having me. And then I'll pass on to the next speaker.
Many thanks, Cornelia, and many thanks to the speakers. So we've heard an introduction from Didier, and we heard a short introduction from the four panelists. Very relevant profiles, very interesting stories that you have to tell us today. So I don't want to be spending too much time, just saying that in the meantime, we're up to 180 attendees, which is great. So no pressure on our panelists. I want to start the discussion on the topic of ambition. So ambition in terms of talking a bit about the objectives of your organization in terms of AI, and also a bit on what is the current state of affairs in terms of generative AI and LLMs in your organization's plans or roadmaps. So I will pass the floor to Ildiko. You are muted, Ildiko, we can't hear you.
A beginner's fault. I'm sorry for this. The center has already implemented and uses AI in various areas. For example, supporting our services, language services we provide to our clients, but as well as for supporting internal processes. The main technologies, just in a nutshell, really, that we are currently using are neural machine translation with customized models. Also, machine translation quality estimation, again, customized models, speech-to-text and automatic transcription, and also AI-powered language and style checker for social media communication, for example. We also use AI in the domain of text-to-image and text effects, and large language models we use also for term extraction, definition drafting, and domain selection in terms of the domains to be for our terminology work. Our latest development, you might remember if you attended last year's seminar or webinar, is what we call the multi-engine machine translation technology. Without being too technical, but because maybe translators and colleagues from the profession are watching us today, it means, I would like to explain what it means. It means that we carry out segment-based evaluation, not text-based, but segment-based. Practically, we send source language segments into several machine translation engines, and the target results for each segment are fed into the system based on quality evaluation done by a meta engine. It has been functioning since February this year, and we are currently evaluating the effort for producing the target language text on behalf of our translators, the percentage of our unchanged segments with minor and major changes. And based on this evaluation, our ambition is to further improve our system. So you can see that AI and LLMs have already played for some time and are still playing an important role in the CDT strategic roadmap. They have already led to a more efficient work distribution, for example, and more productivity in our core businesses, but not only. Today, we can say that thanks to this development and the implementation of these technologies, we can say that our business model is based on language technologies. What does it mean? It means that we offer a wide range of linguistic services, not just the service we provided 30 years ago when we were set up, that you can imagine how it worked, paper-based and typewritten. So we are offering a wider range of services, and these services range from fully automated to services with light human, for some human intervention, and to services with more human intervention or done by humans only. Our objectives in AI consist in further analyzing the opportunities and the challenges to further improve our internal processes and so on and so on and so on. To this end, we set up a working group in May this year, and this working group presented its report very recently in October. And the report assesses the impact of AI technologies on our activities. Management examined the report. We have selected several areas where we see significant opportunities, and there will be a second step to this. We will further analyze the potential in these areas and examine the feasibility and the effort of integrating more tools or different tools. And we will prepare a cost-benefit analysis for decision making, because I think it's important to be realistic about the expected gains. There is a lot of hype. I know we will talk about it, a lot of hunger, we will call it, I think, in our webinar today. But I think we need to be realistic in our expectations and in terms of impact on our efficiency gains. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Ildiko. Yes, we definitely need to be patient, but I think the language and the translation has been one of the areas where we've all been very hungry, and we've seen so much progress that I think at certain level we can, write official letters in a language that we don't know. And when I have my colleague check it, it's just 1 or 2 checks. I find it's the area where I personally have felt most the AI so quickly. So all the things you said are very much interesting. Another area where I think there's a lot of interest is the area of medicines and the European Medicine Agency. So I'll ask the same question more or less to Joachim to talk about a bit on the ambitions and the state of art of the working groups or structures at EMA when it comes to AI. Joachim, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Domagoj. So indeed, AI at the European Medicine Agency, it's nowadays everywhere, from the IT groups and teams and the development teams to the core business area. We are talking AI almost every day because we are working to be ready and to enable this technology, but also we are talking with the stakeholders about AI and how they are using AI while they are developing medicines or while they are working with the medicines. So far, we group all AI activities in 3 main areas. We can consider these 3 main areas the key pillars of treating AI at EMA. One is process analytics, the second is healthcare data analytics, and the third would be regulatory submissions. So the first one, as the name says, it's about how we use AI to gain efficiency and to improve the way of working at EMA. This comes from enabling enterprise AI tools such as Copilot or other tools that are coming into our pipeline, or developing our own applications to build pragmatic solutions and to help colleagues in their daily task. Healthcare data analytics is the use of AI on get insights and understand better the data that we manage at EMA. And the regulatory submissions aims to better regulate how our stakeholders and companies are using AI while working with medicines. Different groups at EMA are working towards this goal to understand better AI and how we can implement this technology. We have a lot of experience building those applications because at the end, AI is not only generative AI or LLM, there are more behind. And in the past years, we have been working implementing this technology in all these areas. Recently, last year, a year ago, 2 groups were set up as a working group, the AI coordination group, to oversee and harmonize all activities related to AI at the agency, and also the AI technical group, to put together all experts in this technology and to share expertise in the different areas while talking in a more deep dive aspect of the technology. We foresee a lot of activities in the next years, and we are considering AI a key pillar in our strategy in the digitalization journey of the agency. Going back to you, Domagoj.
Thank you, Joachim. I see the ambition is high. I heard healthcare data analytics, and it sounds very interesting. So thank you for that. I think passing immediately to another very important area, I think, is the property rights and the area of Weipo. So Lilian, what's happening at Weipo in terms of AI? What is the current ambition? I'm sure it is as high as in CDT and EMA.
Yes, of course. Here at UIPO, our objective is the integration of AI services throughout our core business processes and align with a vision that the top management decided to implement AI project. This vision is based on clear objectives, including the delivery of what we call, and I quote the vision, high quality services enabled by a human-centric approach. To achieve these goals, every AI initiative undergoes a meticulous development process in close collaboration with the business units responsible for the core processes and with our technical team that comprise data scientists and AI experts. Here I must say that each defined business use case is assessed in such a way to provide evidence of the expected benefits. If it does not prove to get interesting benefit, this use case might be discarded. And then subsequently, when a set of business cases is identified, the top management has the mandate to prioritize their implementation based on strategic consideration. Delving into the specifics of generative AI, that is what is very interesting today, we are actively exploring the capabilities of existing tools such as ChatGPT, for instance. Our exploration encompasses ideation, summarization of content, generation of drafted texts, or written communication. And as I said previously, this exploration aligns with our commitment to use advanced AI technology to enhance the operational efficiency and service delivery of the agency. I think we will go later on some very significant example. And I give back the floor to you.
Thanks, Lilian. I think it's interesting that you described quite a sophisticated also internal process for vetting the use cases and understanding which are the tools that can be implemented across different processes. And I think for me, closer to home, this is a bit similar to what we also have been doing at EFSA. So I would invite Didier maybe just to briefly also explain to us the ambition and the process in place at EFSA in terms of AI. Didier, please, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Thank you, Domagoj. Well, related to the EFSA vision and objectives around AI. So our focus at EFSA is really moving to a human-centric approach to AI implementation with the stress on human-centric, with the aim to really boost efficiency and has also process oversight via automation. And this very much linked to trying to increase the speed of scientific processes, leveraging also on a lot of recent process digitalization initiatives that have been executed and that took place. So streamlining also and enrich staff workflows with the AI-driven knowledge retrieval tools. So knowledge management is really a key focus area to implement AI on. And then for our experts who work with us, maximize their productivity by automating routine tasks, donkey work, use automation and AI-enabled automation to help them there, human-centric, of course. And then also, finally, minimize risks through the integration of big data analytics in key areas like well, detection of emerging risks or even conflict of interest assessment. And this is all translated into an AI roadmap and is visible in different finished projects around scientific process automation, like for the systematic review, the implementation of systematic review, but also projects around knowledge management, AI governance, and ontologies. So, but allow me to now, I talked about this AI roadmap, but allow me to focus a bit on large language models, because although we have an AI roadmap, in its current stage, there is no specific reference to LLMs, so large language models, due to the fact that it's only very short, since acronyms like LLM, ChatGPT, BART, and so on became concepts that you can talk about at the hairdresser, well, not for me, but or while shopping, for example. So the strategic cycle, which takes into account this fast pace of innovation, did not capture yet the LLMs part. So, however, it's very much on our radar, and it's also heavily discussed and for sure will be tabled during the midterm revision of our current strategy. So we have quite some projects going on in the execution phase, where we decided to move some NLP, natural language process approaches, to LLM-based approaches, just because it's there, because it's very actively changing all the time, and it's up to date. And also we have an innovation process, which is a pipeline where ideas from staff on possible use cases are collected and proof of concepts are tried out. And these are very much due to the exposure of, well, the ChatGPT explosion, very much LLM based. And I will stop it here because I will come back to some aspects further during the talk. Thank you. Back to you, Domagoj.
Thank you, Didier. I quite enjoyed the comment on speaking of LLMs during shopping. Haven't done that yet, but it's quite an interesting observation. But I have another point now, since now we heard from the 4 agencies. I would like to give the floor to Cornelia, who is a practitioner and also really has done some research in the area. Can you give us a comment on what you've heard so far and what you think is the ambition and use cases that you think will set the stage for the upcoming period? Cornelia, please.
Thank you. And I was glad to hear the last comment with the reference that LLM will have to sort of be integrated. In traditional AI use cases will certainly remain for specific scenarios. But the first thing I'd say about generative AI and large language models or multimodal models I think there is a differentiation to make between the consumer applications that we have seen a lot, and then how enterprises or public administrations, I think the scenarios are fairly similar in those 2 aspects, will integrate this. And efficiency is the word that has been mentioned by everybody. So I think that is sort of a key driver. Core use cases and all of those that have been mentioned, I think, fall somewhat under those more generally described use cases that I will just mention. So the first one would be customer services. These are the enterprise chatbots that are specific to use cases, and I obviously can see this developing in a number of agencies, in public administrations as well. And some ministries in some countries have already been developing those. Software development per se is another one that will certainly have these gains. And then general efficiency and automation, I think that was mentioned throughout the comments so far. Data analysis, data that organizations have, content creation. Marketing, I think communication was also mentioned. I would say that's sort of the same thing. These are the broad categories. Security and quality assurance. So if you want to sort of categorize the use cases, I think the terms that I'm now using are these umbrella terms under that each of the use case that was mentioned, you can sort of fit them in. And then potentially also forecasting, manage supply. So these use cases then are largely applicable to a variety of sectors, public administrations, and within those you can then sort of look at the evidence whether there are efficiency gains. And I think I'll stop here. We'll come certainly to what needs to be considered in particular with large language model in the next segment.
Thank you so much, Cornelia. And in fact, since we've talked a bit about ambition, but I think that it's time to move a bit into specific examples, because now we've got an appetizer of what the use cases could be and what could be implemented. And we've heard a bit what the agencies want to implement, but I do want to ask a couple of questions on actual things that have been implemented. So my first question it will be for Lilian. I would like you, if possible, to give us an example of a use case that has been integrated in your organization working process. Thank you.
Yes, of course, with pleasure. Allow me to share two illustrative examples with you. First, we have to know that the EUIPO is in charge of registering and protecting trademarks and designs. So I will take an example. Let's say you are a business owner and you look for a unique visual identity for your brand, to find a distinctive logo. Before diving into the registration process, it is wise to ensure that your logo, the project of logo you have, doesn't already exist or closely resemble existing ones. So you can easily upload your logo to the EUIPO online trademark repository called TMView. I encourage you to look it up on Google. In TMView, utilize an AI-driven image recognition to compare your logo with millions of registered trademarks, presenting you with the most similar ones. So this service empowers you to make an informed decision on whether your logo sufficiently stands out for the registration process. And this, everybody can try it going to this TMView website. Now, another example. EUIPO experts, staff of the EUIPO, frequently assess the similarity between two trademarks, particularly in case of conflicts. This involves scrutinizing not only the visual elements, the logo, as I was talking before, but also delving into the similarity of the goods and services each trademark intends to protect. Given that these lists can be extensive, sometimes reaching hundreds or even thousands of terms, we have developed an AI tool. This tool employs semantic search and efficiently compares these lists, providing a precise and much faster analysis, far exceeding the capabilities of manual review. So once again, this service empowers the examiner to make an informed decision. The system only do the work, propose something that the examiner, the human, will decide upon. So this illustrates how our AI services enhance the, let's say, the accuracy and the speed of the trademark examination process. And I conclude with this. I give you the floor.
Thank you, Lilian. Those were really quite interesting and exact examples. And I'm sure that also for when you were saying the first one for the applicants, for people using the services, it's probably a big improvement. In light of the recent developments, I think there are also many exploratory projects or pilot programs that the agencies have conducted that involve either generative AI or LLMs. So I would maybe ask Joachim to give us an example from EMA point of view on any of these exploratory projects. Joachim, please.
Yeah. Thank you, Domagoj. So indeed, so as said at the beginning, we have been exploring and working with AI applications, AI tools in the past years, and building different applications, such as, for example, the assisted validation system that helps us to validate submissions that arrive to EMA, whether companies have submitted correctly all documents, if the information that all those documents contains it's compliant, and so on. Other projects that we can use artificial intelligence, such as file distribution, to compare leaflet documents where text and images are combined. So all this technology helps us, to extract information and make a document comparison. Also, while receiving invoices, to extract the relevant fields and automatically issue all this information in our systems. And also, while submitted certain documents, whether all these documents follow specific templates, we use all these analytics platforms. So all this background and work that we have been doing in the last year gave us a good foundation for now currently experiment and test with generative AI and LLM models. In that area, we have been starting different projects at the agency that we are piloting. I believe that all organizations and companies, we are in the experimentation phase of this technology at this moment. And one of the main projects, for example, would be for extracting information of documents. We have different initiatives about knowledge mining at the agency, because we believe that this is the key or the top one use case that the colleagues at the agency would like to have and to use the generative AI. And these projects aims to chat with documents, extract information, scientific terms, provide the list of documents where any information can be found. This is one of our main goals. We are building a roadmap in terms of knowledge mining and knowledge management at EMA, and this is our bigger ambition that we have at this moment. We are exploring as well how to use ChatGPT at EMA and how this can be implemented, helping colleagues to adopt this technology. We believe that it's crucial to support staff and adopting this technology. So we launched ChatGPT at EMA pilot that is running to explore how this technology can be implemented at EMA and understand the limits, the risk, and also how it can help our daily work in the organization. Going back to you, Domagoj.
Thank you, Joachim. I have to say you intrigued me a bit with this last answer, and so did Lilian. So if the audience allows me, I'm going to come back to both of you, because I want to start the topic of people a bit, and on the requirements we need in the organizations to ensure the successful implementation of AI. So maybe, Joachim, since maybe I come back straight to you to talk to me a bit about whether you've seen any changes in the adoption or progress among colleagues in the past year.
Thank you, Domagoj, for the question. And indeed, so as it said, in my first steps at EMA, I was asked to explore how analytics, at that time, analytics 5 years ago, would be helpful to implement the efficiency, process improvement. So at that time, 5 years ago, I must say that it was a bit scary when we were talking about process automation, and people were not that engaged at the time. But I must say that over the years, people is more and more engaging in this digitalization journey, and also in the providing new ideas how we can implement novel technologies at EMA. And as you said, recently, the last year, we have seen the increase of this engagement towards all the staff at EMA. One of the pilots, as I said, the ChatGPT at EMA pilot, we called for volunteers, and more than 150 colleagues join us to engage in this journey and understanding how to use this technology. And there are different reasons for that. I believe because, yeah, it's a new technology and everyone wants to be on top of it and understand how it works. And also because we are only on the same stage. We would like to understand how this tool works, not only us having access to the tool, also how others are using the tool. And here, I believe that one of our main challenges, or what we need to look to implementing this technology, is about communication, sharing, collaborating. So all these aspects are key if we want to succeed in the implementation of generative AI or LLM or the new technologies that are coming in the future. We believe that this should go from bottom up, so we need to listen staff how they want to use it. And I must say that I'm very happy that colleagues are very engaged and very supportive, providing their ideas, use cases, and how they see the implementation of this technology.
Thanks, Joaquin. I will move straight back to Lilian, because I said I also wanted to build this question on the intervention by Lilian before. So Lilian, what about the situation at the Intellectual Property Office in terms of the implementation and the progress among colleagues? The use cases you explained, how was the adoption?
Yeah, it's key to talk about how the people behave. So in my experience, I would say that there are three key parameters are critical for the successful implementation of AI projects within an organization. First of all, it's imperative to demystify AI, because curiously enough, there are still people thinking, maybe influenced by science fiction scenario, a thing that maybe AI will create some autonomous robots that will replace humanity. No, not at all. Instead, AI is a powerful tool meant to enhance human skills and capacities. So achieving this demystification requires an excellent awareness campaign. This can take various forms, such as training courses, conferences, sharing of success stories across all levels of the organization. And I insist on the all level, that means from top management to individual employees. For instance, here at EUIPO, our human resource department led a project to educate the staff on AI concepts and benefits. And subsequently, we regularly offer webinars and conferences to showcase the tangible benefits of AI services. Then, and simultaneously, by the way, as individuals within the organization work on AI project, it's crucial to form teams comprising subject matter experts from business processes, data science, and AI. Keeping humans in the loop is a key principle, as I already mentioned before. And under no circumstances do we allow algorithm to operate independently. Human testing, verification, correction, monitoring. It's absolutely essential to ensure the accuracy of project results and maintain this human-centric approach. Then the third key element is once a set of AI-based services is developed, governance becomes very important, with services enhancing customer experience, improving operational efficiencies, automating business processes. Management of the AI lifecycle is necessary. This involves governing data and machine learning models to prevent unintentional outcomes. And here I use the term intentionally, emphasizing the importance of ethical, fair, responsible, and trustworthy use of technology that is designed to assist a human decision-making. And this is where AI governance play a crucial role in enabling the management, the monitoring, the control of all AI activities within an organization. So this is what we apply here. So in conclusion, the successful implementation of AI involves demystifying the technology, keeping the human in the loop, and setting up a robust AI governance. This is the key to success. And I give the floor back to you, Domenico.
Thank you, Lilian. I wanted to make also an observation because we are receiving questions in the chat. Just to let you know that we will have a Q&A session around 4:30, and we will answer some of your questions. There are questions that I see now in the chat that will be answered in the panel discussion coming up. So bear with us and stay tuned, because we will answer some questions on confidentiality, misinformation, and challenges. So we'll get there. But the questions we don't answer in our sort of chat that we have until the Q&A session, we will prioritize for the Q&A session. And if there are any unanswered questions, we can also follow up later. Okay, so we're still on the topic of people, and I wanted to speak to Ildiko a bit now, because I wanted to. You talked about the tools and the tools that CDT uses, and we've heard from Emma and Weipo on what is needed for the organizations to successfully implement AI. So how do you at CDT acquire the skills that your organization needs? Do you have sort of a specific strategy when it comes to learning, or you have some sort of change management strategies on how to integrate this fast-paced AI into the organization? Thank you.
Thank you for the floor. Yes, we have both. But I think at the CDT, we need to distinguish between two types of activities: the core activities, which are translation or linguistic service-related, language-related activities, and their support activities, like workflow management and so on and so on, and the general support activities that we all have in our agencies, like HR, legal services, and so on and so on. I think you have already talked about the second part, so maybe I will talk about the first part. Yes, of course, we have had continuous training at the CDT, but I would like to draw our attention to the fact that in the language professions, this technological development, what I stated at the beginning of my introduction, didn't start with AI and the large language models. So much so that the profession has had the time to continuously adapt to work in an increasingly digital environment. Training courses started to adapt their curriculum to new requirements quite some time ago, and the Commission and its Director General for Translation did a lot of work in it and had a lot of impact in it. They created a network of universities, which is the EMT, the European Masters in Translation Universities, and they created profiles and competencies that should be included into a modern translator training program. The first one was issued in 2009. The latest was issued in 2020. So you can see that from 2009, the profession and training and academia has been adapting to it. It means that there is a certain digital literacy, so to say, let's say, within the translation profession, because as you said, large language models, it's language, all started with language, with our professions. Having said that, of course, we have to continuously adapt. And even if we have this habit, let's say, or this curiosity to learn, we have been trained to do so. Still, there are new tools appearing continuously. The CDT, I can tell you, it has been gradually introducing, as I said, new tools. We have been the introduction of these new tools has always been accompanied by training. To get, for example, a very concrete example of a period which was really, really pivotal in the life of CDT is 2019, 2020. A comprehensive transformation plan was put into place together with the Weipo, by the way. And in this transformation plan, it was technological transformation plan. A lot of technological tools were used, were introduced, developed, and so on and so on. But it was accompanied by systematic training of our staff. And since then, we have been, of course, we have our training plan, and we are working on training our staff with special focus on training in AI. Here, I would like to underline very briefly that I agree with Lilian when he said that we need to demystify AI. And it is important to emphasize the role of the human in the loop, especially in our profession, because of the expectations of the wider general public. Tools are available free of charge, and they are fascinating the whole world. However, we shouldn't forget that there would be no MT and no tools without the human capital put into it. And we evaluate at the center, for example, we evaluate existing tools. This is how we keep the human in the loop. Also, we create technology and algorithms and software, but our translators, our linguists, check the quality of language data we receive from our clients. We correct it, we modify the target language text so that the data sets that we feed into our custom machine engines are of good quality, as good as it is today possible, I think. And I think that we shouldn't forget that it's very important because any machine translation engine is only worth the quality of data it uses and reuses. Because it does reuse data, and it reuses bad data, bad quality data as well, which could be amplified and could create even bigger biases and problems there. And we shouldn't forget that the human in the loop has a very important role in our profession, which is linguistic services, because let's not forget that language changes and language use changes. And for the time being, it's human beings who can follow this change. I think we can say that can follow this change and can keep up with this change and evaluate this change. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Ildiko. I think that was a very interesting point and sort of a good flow from what Joachim and Lilian were saying about demystifying and also creating AI governance. So I would like to, and thank you for mentioning the tools that CDT uses that you already described before, because there was a specific question also there was a specific question on the tools, and I'm glad you mentioned that again. So I'm going to sort of conclude what I heard from these three speakers, that apparently there's a lot of AI hunger out there and a lot of use cases are coming up. What's been happening at EPSA in the last year in terms of use cases, Didier, and sort of the organizational change?
Hi, well, thank you, Domagoj, for asking this. So first of all, thanks to digital dexterity programs and organizational changes, also process changes that facilitate somehow and that bring forward the value of innovation and provide also ways to open the agendas of our senior management to discuss these aspects. So in general, there the support and sponsorship at senior management levels on AI related topics and projects increased several levels over the last year, but the last 2 years, let's say this. But on top of that, also we took and are in the process of taking more. We took several actions to facilitate and centralize also the internal communication awareness, the ID capturing, the capacity building trainings around AI and the use of AI. So we have an AI hub where we have the latest news and project achievements. And we have also on this AI hub, you can explore existing AI tools, which are at the level of in the phase of proof of concept or already implemented. So we had and are also reviving a knowledge community on on AI and data science. And we have a very active agenda of info sessions on all kind of AI-related topics. And last but not least, we have a good attendance of EFSA staff to the virtual community also, which, we are holding monthly. So these are all factors that increase that are contributing to this AI hunger. Adding to this, of course, what I previously said, this ChatGPT-induced explosion, which only increased the hunger and fed a lot of ideas. The one already more realistic than the other. So what do we focus on? We focus on capturing and documenting those ideas. We focus on giving room for experimentation. We have an Azure sandbox also there for this, to develop proof of concepts, to experiment with this. But we focus also on managing expectations given the current IT landscape we operate in, and also the current process environment. But in the meantime, we keep on working project-wise on moving the organizations more and more to this AI-enabled, human-centric regulatory science organization. So it's a journey, but for the hunger and the ideas and the engagement and the creativity that this hunger creates in the staff, we open channels to really document this, to proceed with this to the level which is possible given our current environment that we work in. Thanks, Dominic.
Thanks, Didier, and I'll get back to some of those points when we discuss also the ethical considerations and what we need to include in our roadmaps for ethics. But I did want to ask Cornelia as well, because I think, Cornelia, we're all aware there's this big AI race. Everyone wants to implement as much as they want. In your opinion, what kind of skills are essential? Because I also know that there's been research, academic research on how to deploy AI responsibly, and I think you've been part of that. So give us a couple of thoughts on that, in terms of the AI race and deployment.
Yes, as to the AI race, I think we are seeing the AI race currently in full display at the level of in the context of a worldwide race. I think there is a couple of things to say about this. First of all, you have like 3 to 4 eventually AI labs that are really leading and are at least 2 years ahead of everybody else in terms of innovation. Those are DeepMind, OpenAI, and Anthropic, and then you have some split ups. I'd say it's really important for deployers of this technology, in particular in the public administration. I think for public administration, there is additional responsibilities that should be considered. So understanding the landscape and the ecosystem around large language models, I think, is extremely crucial. It's also important to understand how these different labs develop the large language models. The way they are currently developed are basically scraping the internet, so everything which is there, and then you have mitigation techniques that prevent the worst of the worst to come out. So it's almost like content moderation. In this context, just to go back to your question around people, it's important to understand that beyond the opportunities. So anybody that deploys AI, so the human in the loop should probably be extended to having a proper responsible AI governance organization or policy in place. Who is involved in that? Of course, you need the data scientists and the experts, the domain experts, to understand well the use cases. You might, depending on how the regulation evolves, have compliance teams. So understanding whether and how this will be regulated. Is it a high risk use case? Is it not a high risk use case? If it's not, and many of the examples that were today mentioned, like broadly might actually not be high risk, but you might still want to deploy similar governance models. So you need a very multidisciplinary group that does responsible AI governance that includes legal as well. To give you one example in this context, the International Association for Privacy Professionals has just started this year to develop a new certification for a emerging new professional, which is the responsible AI governance professional. I happen to be on their advisory board for their AI governance center. And in this context, they are now developing for a broad range of professionals a certification to help them step up. What does this include? It includes knowledge around data science, around techniques, large language models, about how they are built, but it also includes understanding around the emerging regulatory frameworks that exist, and it also includes ethical principles. So, and the variety of professionals that might actually take such a certification really varies across all these participants in a proper AI governance model. So I think this is a very evolving area currently. There is also research done by Dennis Hirsch, who studies where AI governance sits in organizations. And so my conclusion is the verdict is still out where the responsibilities ultimately lie. From all of what I hear here, it's very much focused still on exploring the use cases. But going forward, I think this will have to be a little bit broadened to make it right. And on when we go to the challenges, I think there is real need, in particular with the large language models, which are very distinct in their risk profile from traditional AIs, such as that was mentioned, for example, in image recognition, one-to-one identification of trademarks, etc. These risk profiles are very different. The security frames around it are as well. So evolving area around talent that is needed to get it right.
Thank you, Cornelia. I think that's very interesting. And since I had you and Didier now discuss this a bit, I will pose a follow-up question to both of you and give you maybe a minute or two to give us an answer. It's more on the topic of ethics and the ethical consideration. I managed there are ethical challenges in the beginning, and now you mentioned a bit on the governance. So Didier, just to follow up to what you explained, what's happening in EFSA, how is EFSA preparing its workforce for the ethical challenges that generative AI may pose? Is there any training program in place, and how does this fit into the governance?
Okay, so in EFSA, so we talked before, I mean, we talked about governance and now ethics. In EFSA, we are working, there's a project ongoing on AI governance, which is planned to deliver at by the end of this year, an AI target operating model. And 2024 will be dedicated to the proof of success and adoption and change management. So in a nutshell, this project then lays the basis for the delivery of AI solutions in a transparent, safe, fast, trustable, so here the ethics aspect comes forward also, and coherent way. So having said this, so the aspect of ethics is integrated into this governance project. So part of the process, like I said, so the process activities, so the proposal to manage also AI-related risks. The approach there, and it's not only related to LLMs, but the process there is to perform some kind of a tiering approach according to the EU AI Act, of course, which was not directly mentioned before, and leverage on the ETAPAS framework, which is the Ethical Technological Adoption in Public Administration Services on Disruptive Technologies. The risk treatment would also following as much as possible the risk management principles in place for projects and processes. So we try not to, well, of course we need to we are bringing in the AI specific aspects, but for the ease of implementation, we try to really put it as much as possibly together with already existing risk management frameworks that we have. Specifically for LLMs, we are also together with with quite some institutions. We are part of this LLMs task force, which takes place under the umbrella of the US Food and Drug Administration, where there is an ongoing discussion and a white paper under development on issues that there are and opportunities and challenges with the implementation of LLMs in regulatory science. So in this international group, we are also addressing this with the other agencies, which then links back also to the virtual community where we report on this. In the meantime, because I said this is all ongoing work, which will be in place then next year, hopefully. In the meantime, for LLM specifically, we adopted the published Commission guidelines on the use of available generative artificial intelligence tools online. So this was published just before summer, which gives guidance to the Commission staff on how to use online tools which are publicly available, like ChatGPT. And we were very quick to adopt this also in order to give a first guidance to the staff on this. In case you're not familiar with these tools, I can provide the link in one or other way. But it basically is about use common sense. It's nothing specifically, which is good. I mean, it's an applied really common sense tool. Guideline.
Thank you, Didier. That's quite useful and interesting also on the ethical standards. Cornelia, I wanted to just give you a final word on this topic, and then we'll move into what I think the audience is really interested in, is the challenges. So I just give you the last word on the potential of the private and public sector a bit to collaborate and accelerate, and also something that I think we need to talk about, which is the responsible development of the LLMs and sort of the public procurement. So I give you maybe to give us a word on that, and then we dive into the challenges.
Yeah, I mean, on the collaboration, I think out of the sheer fact that most of the AI systems that are currently developed are, whether this is in public administrations or in enterprises, are systems that basically fine-tune large language models trained on massive amounts of data that are developed by the few companies that I've mentioned before. I should also say that there is, in this context, a division between more closed systems or more closed models and open source models, and a very vibrant discussion around open source versus safety. I think, again, for deployers, it is important to understand these current developments. Now, I should say in this context that you can look at this. The demystifying was already mentioned on these existential risks debates. These discussions come from the mission of those labs that have as a mission to develop artificial general intelligence or super intelligence. But we can leave that aside for now, at least because just this month a new paper came out by Google Brain, I believe it was, that demonstrates that the current architecture of large language models does not allow this generalization, which would potentially lead to AGI. So currently we are stuck with the architecture we have, that allows us to do the things that we have discussed previously. There is plenty of issues to consider within those that all have, again, responsibilities for the deployers. There is, of course, the privacy issues in the training data, and the potential risk of leaking data in the fine-tuning of the models. There's a lot of security and safety discussions here. There is the IP issue similar in the training data, but also in the output, and how those are currently dealt with. There's regulatory discussions around it. There's commitments from the large companies to take on the liability. Again, there is a lot of question marks then what deployers shall do if they just say, well, we are not liable, so we use it knowing that it's infringing or not. So there are lots of discussion around how to deal with these issues. My sense is this is something that will either through contractual agreements or through court decisions be solved over the next coming years. So in this context, I think we have far beyond just an ethical discussion, a legal discussion that is currently unfolding, and then of course down the road a compliance discussion. My sense, and maybe this we can talk a little bit more about this once we are in the challenges sector, is we started with an ethical discussion at the beginning of this new technology, that are the issues around bias in particular. There's also a huge problem in the human in the loop issue around automation bias, transparency, interpretability. With large language models, the conversation has really shifted towards safety and legal debates with existing law. Down the road, we will have compliance discussions, and hopefully that would be sort of where I would like to land, is that we then have a corporate social responsibility discussion, and social responsibility for public administrations discussions. So pushing the boundaries of responsibility through public procurement obligations. So.
Thanks for that, Cornelia. And I think you've touched on one of the challenges, the responsibility, but there are many challenges. And as I said at the beginning, there are technological challenges, there are ethical challenges, there are financial challenges. So let's tap a bit into the challenges. I'm going to start with Lilian. Lilian, in your opinion, what are the risks, and are there any, of AI failing in terms of adoption and implementation? And what would be your biggest concern in this area?
Yeah, all through the discussion, we already heard a lot of different challenges, yes, for sure. And of course, we are all facing that, especially when we think about AI. I think we are often amazed, at least I am amazed by its capacity. Just look at the creation of these powerful deep fake videos, or if you ask ChatGPT, that is able to provide you a seemingly brilliant but completely incorrect answer, or also the limitation of the face recognition system. This example could destroy the trust of AI users and citizens in the technology. So, sorry to repeat myself, but to counter this, for instance, education is crucial. Awareness campaigns, training courses play a crucial role in providing a clear understanding of how AI works and its potential impact. Without this knowledge, the benefits of AI might be completely misunderstood or misinterpreted. Another challenge, we have to ensure that AI aligns with ethical values, as previously mentioned. We've also touched upon the risk associated with data security, privacy. We already heard about incidents of data breaches and the misuse of sensitive information. Here, the robust cybersecurity measure must be a priority when working with AI. We face this, so we have to mitigate it. Another challenge is monitoring and controlling AI results. We need to be very vigilant in identifying and rectifying errors. Understanding and explaining the workings of AI algorithm are a crucial aspect of its process. Again, it underlines the importance of having humans in the loop. This expression has been quoted several times during the live talk. It's one of the key points to take away. Because I repeat, AI is here to support human decision making, not replace it. So, in conclusion, organizations, and I would say in particular EU institutions, have to play a very important role ensuring the responsible and effective adoption of AI. These involve addressing concerns through rules and regulation. And here, for instance, the AI Act, that is a regulatory framework for the development and deployment of artificial intelligence system within the EU, is supposed to tackle all the concerns we just talked about. So yes, challenges, but I think we have the means to tackle them. I give you the floor back.
Well, that's an enthusiastic answer, and I would subscribe to that, Lilian. I think we do have the means. There is a lot of challenges, but I think we can definitely try to find ways to address those. Joachim, I move to you. I wanted to ask you a bit on the risk of generative AI in producing misinformation. What safeguards are you considering? There were also questions in the chat about protection from artifacts, and so if you wanted to give us a bit of an overview of the safeguards and how you validate results from AI tools at the European Medicines Agency, please.
Yep, thank you, Domagoj. So to start with, I would like to stress the human in the loop. We believe that, yeah, I think is the phrase of the word, the concept of today, but it's very important that we keep that, because those models, the output of those models are not always true for the specific use case that we want to use. When we consider those LLMs or algorithms as a personal assistant to produce some of the tasks, we need to always validate the outcome. But if we implement those processes in an automatic, involve this technology in automatic process, the level of validation is different, and also the misinformation that this can produce. So always there should be a human to validate the result. There are automatic methods that we can implement to auto-validate the outcome of those technologies. For example, as an example, if we consider the summarization of a meeting to produce minutes of a meeting, there are methods, algorithms that can contrast the outcome of the LLM versus the original text. So the idea would be not to implement a double check after the generation of the minutes has been created. That will produce for you, for example, a score that will give you the accuracy of the outcome that the technology has produced. But again, for other personal assistant work, like increase the quality of this text, that as well, this is one of the top use cases that we see at EMA. This is the validation of this use case should be based on human loop. Another example, and also a question related to in the Q&A that we see, for example, using this technology to the risk assessment of medicines. Here we need to be very careful when we use this technology because there could be a big bias or misinformation of this information. That's why this technology, we see this technology to support our work, not to do or to replace our work. So this will help us, for example, to search information related to the risk of that medicine. Therefore, we will be doing a better assessment, and we will produce a higher quality in our work. So we will increase our productivity. I would like to finish adding a concept of, we always talking about data scientists, of computer scientists, but we see more and more the concept of content scientists. So this is the new profile that is coming, and we will see more and more. So these are the skilled people with more a data scientist or computer scientist background, but focus on using this to analyze, extract, transform content. And when we say content, it's about the content that we can find in the document. So yeah, I would like to finish my intervention adding this profile, because it will help, no? And they will come with new ideas on how we can create safeguards and also improve the misinformation of these algorithms. Come back to you, Damagoy.
Thanks, Joachim. There were quite, in fact, some questions in the chat about some of these, the human touch needed to validate the results. So I'm happy you touched upon these. There are some further questions for you in the chat, so I'll come back to those in the QA session. I wanted to tackle one more challenge, which was a bit the challenge of explainability in generative AI and LLMs. So Didier, given the regulatory landscape, what do you think could be put in place for explainability? Is there a trade-off to be made between explainability and performance? And maybe just to maybe narrow the concept. So explainable AI is that describes a model that it has its expected impact and potential biases. So just to give us a bit of an EPSA feel on that.
Yeah, well, thanks for this question. Allow me to go back to explainability. Yeah? So explainability. And then particularly explainability of large language models. So refers to the ability to understand and describe how these systems make decisions or come up with their responses. So it's often used together with interpretability, which more refers to the internal decision-making process of the algorithm. So explainability is then all about how these decisions can be communicated and understood by humans, especially those without technical expertise, as basically the majority of the population has not the technical expertise to understand really how a modern large language model really works. So both aspects are important for trust and transparency in AI, but they cater slightly different needs and an audience also. So to enhance the explainability of LLMs, specifically to the end user, because it's important about whom we are talking. Let's first talk about the end user. So the staff member in EFSA, whether it's now a data scientist or not, who uses large language models. And think we need to make the difference also between online large language models, which are accessible through an API, or locally installed large language models on which you have a better, well, at least you know which kind of model you have installed and what the current, what the situation is around this model. So and this well, it links with this first step. So having detailed documentation on the model that you are using, on the large language model that you are using. And this differs completely. If you access models which through an API, such as ChatGPT, and you access it through an API online, you basically don't know what kind of model version. You know very little about the training data which is used. You don't know whether this version that you are using today is similar to the version that you are using yesterday or completely different. So there, I mean, a difference needs to be made also how with locally installed LLMs or LLMs even which you train yourself to a certain extent, this step of seeking detailed information would be more accessible and is more accessible. The second step that always relates to explainability is really be able to provide feedback on AI outputs, which is about, yeah, well, a community-based approach to validate outputs of LLMs. For example, LLMs which are locally installed and which are downloaded via platforms like Hugging Face I mean, there are mechanisms there in place to provide feedback, to exchange experiences with other users, which are not existing, for example, directly for API LLMs like ChatGPT, for which we have thumbs ups and thumbs down, but not really feedback what you exchange with the users. Then, I mean, it's not to reiterate on the human in the loop, but the way that you can have the human in the loop is different for different kind of LLMs. There's a a challenge. But of course, the value of trainings, workshops, awareness, education, reading, be able to always check what comes out is part of the whole thinking. Direct communication with AI developers, which links to what I said earlier, like, for example, models which you download from platforms like Hugging Face. There, things are easier to do. You can exchange feedback with the developers, which is not directly possible with API accessed LLMs. Reviewing model performance, which is part of the AI governance, also keeping track of the model's outputs, these kind of things, this all contributes to the explainability. If we look at explainability of AI, then for people who are exposed to AI-generated output, like more for society, if, for example, if we use LLM contributions in EFSA outputs, then if society, I mean, the end user of this information is exposed to this, then it's all about trying to give simplified explanations, provide also give educational context to content to those people to try to understand how things are working, what is happening there, interactive tools and demos. So it's all about really explaining in simple terms to society on how those tools are used. But given, I mean, what I said before, there are challenges, and so also, which for LLMs, and it's mainly on how these LLMs are trained, whether you have a vision and an interpretation, an understanding of this, where they're installed, how you access them, and how version control is looked at. And so, thank you.
Thank you, Didier. You mentioned a lot of interesting things, including ChatGPT, and there were questions about ChatGPT in the chat as well, and about how we use, how the institutions use publicly available tools. So we've gathered a number of questions. I have made a short list of questions, and I do have a question for each one of you. I do ask that you try to answer in 2 minutes, because we have only 20 minutes left. I know I would love to stay extra, but I'm not sure all of our attendees can. So I'll go through the questions now, and so the first questions is for Joachim. So one of the participants was interested to know how Emma's your opinion on current activities of the submission group, and do you see AI being integrated in preparing risk assessments of medicine? And also, do you use which sort of versions do you use of analytics tool, including ChatGPT? And have you adapted it in some way to the needs of Emma? Please, Joachim.
Yeah. Thank you, Domagoj. I believe that's more than one question, but I will try to reply all of them. So in terms of starting from the bottom, for the foundation, how EMA is using this technology, we use our Azure OpenAI APIs that are very restrict and are under protection. So they are we are putting in place safeguards to use, and as we said during the conversation, our main priority is the security and also the data protection impact of all this technology when we use. Not only using this kind of technology, any technology that we use at EMA should go through different assessments and different stages to validate that they can be implemented in a safely manner at EMA. So that in terms of the risk assessment, as I said before in my previous intervention, I see this an opportunity, as a tool, as an assistant to provide a kind of a first opinion or the first ingredients from previous or from databases, like a knowledge mining capability that will help the assessor or the expert at EMA to produce that risk assessment. It's not the proper technology that would produce it, it's the technology supporting the expert or the scientific domain expert at EMA to produce that risk assessment, collecting information from different sources and to put all together, avoiding all the manual work that currently we need to do while we work or we look into adverse events or indications of other medicines that we have in our documentations or databases. So with 2 clicks or asking a question to a system, you can compile and receive all this information. In terms of submissions, and also related to other comment that I saw in the chat, indeed, so we see that companies will submit more and more documentation that would be done by an AI system. That's for sure. This is coming, so we need to prepare for that. And we believe that we have templates. We need to create certain criteria to identify those submissions and those documentations, and we are willing to do this together with MAA and NCAs as well. Recently, at the beginning of this week, there was a workshop, HMA, EMA, AI workshop for multi-stakeholders at EMA, where we have been discussing with head of medicine agencies, academia, and also representative from the industry, how EMA, in the regulatory and the life cycle of medicines, we will implement AI, and as a network all together, we are going to use it. And there was a lot of debate how we are going to use it from all the sides, from the academia, from the industry, from EMA, and also from the NCAs. So there is a lot of conversations ongoing. This is new, but there will be a lot of actions that if you follow us at EMA, there will be announced on different iterations that will come in the future. Going back to you, Domagoj.
Thank you, and thank you also for mentioning the NCAs, Joachim, which I understand are the national competent authority. So you also touched upon the integration and discussion with the member states, I think, which was one of the questions. So thank you. That was a tall order because there were many questions in the chat for you, but you did a great job. Thank you for that. I move to Ildiko now. Ildiko, you discussed about translating not just words, but also segments. And there was a question from the audience, what do we mean by segments? Specifically. Thank you, Ildiko.
Thank you very much for the floor. I didn't say we were translating words. We never translate words, we translate meaning and ideas. So this is one of the first rules of a professional translator. I said segment-based. Our multi-engine machine translation technology is segment-based. A segment, without being too technical, can be explained as follows. When we receive a document for translation, we prepare it for translation, of course, and it is put into a software that will be seen by our translators. And this text is cut, let's say, cut into smaller segments. A segment can be a sentence, but a segment can be a paragraph as well, or in between. And segment-based machine translation with the multi-engine strategy improves quality, because before this we had document-based. Let me give you an example. For example, EMA or Weipo are here as well. We have custom engines for Weipo and EMA, which means that we have a lot of technical information in all the EU languages in our term basis and in our machines as well. But let's say Weipo sends out, or EMA sends us a text, which comes from them. It's about their profession, but more of a legal nature with financial information there. The technical engines, which are only technical, help us to some extent, but don't help us to the full potential we could have. Here we've got a segment, and it goes to several engines, and if the best result comes from the custom engine for medicine or the custom engine for intellectual property, then it will be put into the interface for the translator to check. But if it's more financial nature, the best hit, so to say, the best result will probably come from the finance engine. I think I should stop here because it will be long if I continue. But basically, this is it. It's quality assurance and better quality and faster working methods, let's say.
Thank you for that, Ildiko. I'm not very technical in the area, but I understood. So thank you. It was quite a clear answer. And thanks for addressing that. I wanted to pass the floor to Didier quickly. Didier, there was a question, maybe it's a quick one. If the roadmaps and all the AI and technology roadmaps, are they public? And in what ways would EFSA address issues such as bias in AI when assessing food safety risks?
Okay, first of all, the first one is a very simple one. Yes, the AI roadmap is public, as are all EFSA outputs and documents. So can be found on the website. If you would Google AI roadmap EFSA, I'm pretty sure you will come very close already to the roadmap. Regarding bias, bias on, for example, AI that we implement in our processes at this point are mainly classifiers who would be captured under the denominator, under the umbrella of being classifiers, which are classifiers that are trained on our own training data and which we check on their accuracy, hence the bias also, before they are further implemented to make classifications. To give an example, one sort of classifier which is used is to determine whether abstracts which are used in systematic review by screening of thousands of abstracts. We start by training an algorithm first to follow the human reviewers in how they include or exclude a specific abstract based on predefined inclusion-exclusion criteria that the algorithm is, of course, not aware of, but I mean, that's what the reviewers follow. And then at a certain point, when the algorithm is able to reclassify an already classified set in an enough accurate way, it will be used then further to go through thousands and thousands of further abstracts to classify them as relevant or non-relevant. So in that sense, by controlling the output, by knowing what kind of training data goes in, this accuracy is controlled completely and also documented completely in the output. So it's known what kind of algorithm is used, how it is used, and what kind of classifiers are used. However, as I earlier mentioned also, on the use of large language models, so in food feed safety, so in the core processes of EFSA, which we are not doing yet as it is, the challenges are a bit more extended, but I mean, this has been discussed at LEAP before, so I won't go into this there. Thank you.
Thank you, Didier. We'll close with two questions, one to Lilian and one to Cornelia, and they are sort of GDPR related, but I'll first give the floor to Lilian. Lilian, there was a question on where the AI workloads are computed or hosted, if private data centers are used on own hardware or cloud product, because there was a particular interest with regard to GDPR and the sensitivity of the data. So if you could give us an insight in that from Weipo's point of view. Thanks.
Yes. Several aspects here. On the sensitivity of data, for instance, at least I think it's the common approach in the EU institutions. Each time we launch a project that deals with data, especially if it's an IT project, we have a strict process that imply IT security assessment and data protection impact assessment. So we don't do whatever we want. It's when we deal with data, we have to comply with certain rules in order to protect everything. So AI project do comply with the same. We have to assess these things. So if there are sensitive data, they must be protected, or the process will not be entitled to deal with this particular data. In our case, for instance, in EU IPO, we don't deal with very sensitive data, but for instance, the trademarks are public, but for designs, there can be an economic impact. So designs are to be kept secret for a while. That means the designer protect his design, and it must be secret while the manufacturer develop the tool. So for instance, this and design are images. And for instance, these secret design, they are excluded from our image recognition systems. So clearly, rules inherent to the business. On the point of processing the data, here what was the driver for us at UIPO, at least, is simply money. We did a proof of concept to process data for an AI project in the cloud. In the exploratory phases, testing phases, this is awfully expensive. So we came back on premise. That means we are lucky to have a good data center. So to play, that means to try to work with an AI model to improve this model for a certain period of time. We work in premise and not on the cloud. Currently, all the production systems are on our premises, but we plan to start gradually migrate some system to the cloud, but always controlling the cost. And I think, yes, this is the answer. Back to you.
Thank you, Lilian. Quite clear, and I think the GDPR requirements are quite clear, and as EU agencies, we are quite clear in adhering to those. At the more policy level, there was a question, and I did want to maybe ask Cornelia for her final thought. This will be the final question I posed from the selection of questions, a bit on the interrelation between GDPR and the forthcoming EU AI Act. Your thoughts on that? There was a question on that.
Yeah, thank you. Both have as a protection scope, a different protection scope. Clearly, data protection protects the personal data of data subjects, so it's very, very targeted. The AI Act is structured as like a safety regulation, aims at protecting fundamental rights more broadly. You could imagine cases where, for example, a customer uses a hyperscaler platform that has integrated large language models capabilities. And you would then, and it would be a high risk case because the AI Act really just applies those stringent requirements if the use case is either covered by Annex 2, that refers to product safety directives, or Annex 3, which relates to very specific use cases, many of them in public administration, such as the judiciary decision-making, law enforcement decision-making, etc. When there is an overlap, so both laws apply, you would have to do, you would have to, as an AI system developer, provide a lot of documentation to the deployer, and the deployer that has to do a data protection impact assessment would need to integrate that information in its data protection impact assessment. So there is a very concrete inbuilt link. There's another link between those two laws, which is in the risk mitigation on the AI Act side, when it concerns potential biases, so that you might actually be allowed to process sensitive data in order to mitigate biases. That could be, for example, if you need to enhance a certain database with more diverse ethnicity groups in order to have a less biased outcome. So there are a couple of interrelations that we need to sort of work through in the future, but largely I think the AI Act has a broader aim, in particular now in the last mile of the negotiations, as additional considerations such as environmental considerations or even IP infringement considerations have made their way through. But I also want to point out that if foundational models, and this is sort of like the very sort of hot debate currently between the negotiators in trialogue, the Spanish presidency has put forward an extensive, a more encompassing regulatory approach to foundation models, while there are also discussions not to regulate them specifically separate from high risk at all. If that would be the case, then many of the scenarios that we were just discussing would not necessarily be covered by the AI Act at all. So it would be then up to the deployer to potentially develop codes of conducts that voluntarily would apply those requirements. So, but yeah, the processors and controllers of personal data in the future will have to look at both legislations to understand with what rules they have to comply. And of course, for the European agencies, it's not GDPR, but the corresponding regulation.
The EDPR. Okay, so thank you so much for these answers. We've answered some questions, not all of them, although some of the questions from the chat were answered during our discussion. We are running a bit out of time. Although we still have 114 attendees with us, so thank you guys. This is an indicator for us that you've been enjoying the discussion, and the panelists have been doing a great job. I will close with a final round of comments from the speakers. I would like you to think a bit about what will keep us busy over the next year and some really practical examples and of how AI can it have an impact on the trust in authorities, and examples of how it can benefit citizens, something that I'm sure will keep us busy for the next year. So I'll give the floor in a specific order. So first one to closing thoughts, Joachim, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Domagoj. So related to what Cornelia said before, in terms of that this year is the year of experimentation. All of us, we're experimenting. I see next year as the year of implementing the technology, and also going to understanding all the policies and all the regulations that we need to have in place to regulate all our systems. So I see next year that this would be our main challenge, not only in each of our institutions, also reflecting what the community should do in the future. So we need to focus also collaborating how we are going to implement all these legal frameworks, the data protection impact assessment, because at the end, all this will be affecting all of us in the same way. So If we achieve that, I believe that the improvement and the increase of productivity of all our processes using this technology will have an impact to the citizen and also to the increase of the trust in our authorities. How? So providing better outcomes with higher quality and faster. So this is how I see the future. The future is bright. The sky is the limit, and I see that now more than before. We are very impatient to see how this will evolve.
Thank you so much, Joachim. And I'm pretty sure that Lilian shares your vision and is quite enthusiastic about the benefit of that AI can bring to citizens. Lilian, the floor is yours for any final comment.
Yes, I completely share the last sentence of Joachim. Sky is the limit completely. Especially during the last hour, we have clearly demonstrated that AI holds great potential for benefiting citizens, but it's crucial to be vigilant against potential excesses. So for that reason, I think now it's here where being European citizens should make us proud, very proud, because as Camelia told quite extensively just before, in the EU, the use of artificial intelligence is said to be regulated by this AI Act. That is the world's first comprehensive artificial intelligence law. Personally, I think it's a remarkable initiative, especially when you consider that such comprehensive regulations are not yet in place in other parts of the world. I've read that the US is starting to contemplate something similar, but the AI Act places the European Union at the forefront. So let's be proud, guys. This legislation establishes obligation, as Camelia said, for both AI providers and users based on the level of risk associated with the AI. For instance, AI systems involved in facial recognition deemed to pose an unacceptable risk will be banned in the European Union. And this measure is clearly designed to protect individual privacy. This is just one example of the act in action. And I will stay with this note. I keep faith. AI can provide fantastic service, but then let's be vigilant. Thank you.
Thank you, Lilian. And I said it in my welcoming remarks that I think we are proud that the European Union is on the forefront in terms of regulation. And also this event today, I think, is a testament to us trying to really discuss this in depth and how it can be applied in agencies. I'll pass the floor to Ildiko next, because multilingualism really, enhancing multilingualism is something that we know benefits citizens. And I'm sure we will that is also something where there's a lot of optimism. So Ildiko, the floor is yours for final remarks.
Yes, thank you very much for the floor. Yes, multilingualism in our community, which is the European Union, is very important. Why? Because it's a founding principle of the EU. We are a multilingual union. And I think we have a lot of potential as the Translation Center to foster multilingualism, to facilitate it more with the technologies we have already in place and the technologies we are planning to put into place. We can, it's money, Lilian said it, it's all about money. We can increase, and we have already increased our internal productivity, which means that very concretely that our clients can offer more multilingual content for the same budget. And this way we are striving, we are doing our best to provide economies of scale as well. And multilingualism is really means in our context access to information at EU level about our activities, all of our activities and achievements for the citizens in member states who are might be monolingual. Another thing why I am optimistic and I really is language equality. We will continue to provide for language equality across the EU, which is again a very important issue, because you might be surprised that because of technology and the consequence of MT, the language divide is growing between high resource languages and low resource languages. But I'm optimistic as the speakers on this panel.
Thank you, Ildiko, for all the for that, and really also for all the work of the CDT that we've all personally benefited from when it comes to AI and translation. Okay, Cornelia, you've been exposed to this community today. I want to hear also your thoughts for the closing on how you see the value of such a community to the AI agenda in the EU. I hope you had pleasant conversations with us and the colleagues, and you also have a optimistic vision for the future.
Yes, and I find it reassuring in how holistic this community is thinking about responsible AI governance. I would eventually, and I don't want to sound pessimistic, but I would not say the sky is the limit, but the data is the limit. And I think with the language example, this is sort of like a really good example where now in the implementation in each use case, I think the areas, the challenges have to be scrutinized also in the deployment. And of course, biases in language exist. So you have to continuously monitor against the potential risks also in the deployment. And when that is set in stone and sort of current capacities of large language models are pragmatically assessed, as this was done by Lillian, then I think, yeah, we can actually make this a human-centric and trustworthy technology to the benefit of us all and all citizens.
Thanks, Cornelia, and thank you for being with us today and providing a sort of a practitioner view, someone who has also experience in the private sector and someone who is also working now on the research side. And I'm a firm believer that evidence-based approach is always the way to go. Okay, so we will be closing the event with some final words from Didier. Didier, what's next in the next year for this community, and any final thoughts on the event, and greeting to all of our attendees, please.
Thanks, Domagoj. Well, as being somebody who was very close to the birth and inception even of the community, I would like to really stress the importance of what the community can deliver in this year of implementation after this years of experimentation. And the first thing the first most important thing which comes up in my mind is to work together also on AI governance, because there are loads of opportunities to share experiences, to share insight into how to approach this, and to help each other because we are coming from different parts within our organization. So maybe myself, I'm more from the business side. There are people in the community who are more from the IT side. So sharing there on how things are looked at, how things are proceeding helps enormously also to break not only the silos between the organization, but also within the organization, which is very much needed to come to a successful implementation of AI in this year of implementation. So the wheels might have been invented and tested, but the way that we put it under the car we should do it together a bit to have a same concept of car. Besides this, of course, the view of the vision of the community is to maintain the growth, and the aspect of innovation, and lead also the AI space more and more within the EU. Also to further use the community to increase the network and link with other communities which are under construction within, for example, between member states, linked to food safety. I know, for example, also under EMA, I mean, we all have a different biotope of member states working with us. We can use the AI virtual community to really network also with those separate sub-communities in the member states, which are linked and which are relevant for our specific remits. So therefore, I really, together with Domagoj, I want to thank, first of all, I want to thank all the attendees here. You're very invisible in view of I mean, just numbers that we heard, but in our heart, we know you were there, and thank you for this. I want to personally also thank the speakers and the panel members. Thank you so much, and the moderators, of course. Doma, thank you for your contribution, but also quite some people who are in the background, who, like the attendees you didn't really see. So people from our side, Hermano, Carolina also for the virtual meeting logistics, and of course also our community managers, which are our contractors and which are have been with us all along the way. Domagoj.
I think, Didier, thank you so much for your for that. I couldn't have said it better. I want to thank really, first and foremost, all the panelists. You've been amazing. We've answered and discussed a lot of interesting topics, answered a lot of questions from the audience. I think if you hadn't been, I think the real testament is that we are 10 minutes late and we still have almost 100 people listening. So you've really prepared an engaging and an interesting talk. Thank you for that. I echo what Didier said, thanking all the organizers and people behind, and obviously all of our participants. I hope you enjoyed the event. We hope you enjoyed the event. There will be a recording. We will follow up with some of you in terms of the questions, and follow us on all our agency websites, social media, and other communication. We will be preparing also some other interesting events as we move on in this very lively and active virtual community. So thanks again. And with this, I would like to close the event and wish you all a lovely evening. Thank you.